So on a night in which the Los Angeles Dodgers took down the New York Yankees in the Bronx, they are now up 3-0 in the World Series. We also had a Monday Night Football game in which the Pittsburgh Steelers basically easily handled the New York Giants. We also had a tremendous amount of basketball, but we begin tonight with, of course, and how could we not begin tonight with the statue that looks absolutely nothing like Dwayne Wade. Now, I bring this statue up simply to say Paolo Banchero actually put up 50 tonight. I'm showing you an image of him right now, and this particular image actually looks significantly more like the Dwayne Wade statue than Dwayne Wade actually does. Welcome to the National Basketball Association Rundown Show for a Monday night. It is super late on the West Coast. It's October 28th, in case you are wondering. We are going to talk about the Houston Rockets and Jalen Green. We're also going to talk about Paolo Banchero and the 50-piece that he actually put up tonight. I've got all of that, plus our big National Basketball Association rundown, where we take a quick look at all of the games that went down this evening. But we begin tonight with Jalen Green, and I have to say, Jalen Green has just been playing absolutely fantastic to this point. He is averaging 28.8 points a game. That ties him for 7th in the National Basketball Association. And if you take a look at who's in front of him, it's the usual suspects. It's the people you would expect to see there. You certainly would not expect to see Jalen Green on a top 10 list, would you? Jalen Green is having an absolutely fantastic start to this particular season. In tonight's game, Jalen Green ended up scoring 36 points in 38 minutes of National Basketball Association basketball, as the Houston Rockets had a little bit of revenge, ended up beating the San Antonio Spurs and Wemby in Wemby land tonight. 106-101 was the final. Green went 11 for 22 from the field, 7 for 13 from the arc, and as usual, he only had 1 rebound. He had a couple assists in the game, and of course, we're running some of the highlights so you could see it. But when I take a look at this particular roster as a whole, this Houston Rockets team, to me, is actually one of the teams I think we really need to keep a close eye on as the season goes on. Now, there are all sorts of rumors, and I'm not sure if these rumors are actually coming from Jimmy Butler's camp or if they're actually legitimate rumors, but there are all sorts of rumors that Jimmy Butler is at some point this season is going to be a member of the Houston Rockets. I think the Houston Rockets should just sort of wait and see what they actually have with this team before they commit to something like that. Because committing to something like that is certainly going to mean a significant increase in their payroll, and they're probably going to have to part ways with a couple of their young pieces that maybe they shouldn't be parting ways with at this point. It is a solid young roster. Jabbar Smith Jr. had 17 tonight, and honestly, that's about what you can expect from him. He's sort of the Andrew Wiggins of his era. While you'd like to see him do better night in and night out, he's just sort of in the middle of the road, consistent night in and night out, anywhere between 15 and 20 points a game. And then, of course, there's Sengun. Absolutely love his game. 12 rebounds, 12 points tonight. You have to remember it was going up against Wemby, so his stats line might not be as impressive. And I think the things we haven't seen out of the Houston Rockets yet, and they're 2-2, so let's just sort of hold the roll on exactly how good they're going to be this year. But I think they can actually be really good once they get Cam Whitmore a little bit more involved. Steven Adams actually made his season debut tonight, had 6 points in 14 minutes of play. I think it's just a little bit of time before they actually really figure this roster out and figure out exactly what else they need to actually improve this team. One thing for sure is I am actually disappointed in Ume's inability to actually play Reed Sheppard more than he's actually playing him. Now, Reed Sheppard actually played a whopping 3 minutes tonight. How can you expect a rookie in the National Basketball Association, especially one we think pretty highly of, to actually succeed at all if all he's actually going to get is 3 minutes? I understand it was a close game and probably waiting to see exactly what you really have with him, but I still would like to see more minutes. Now, the other game I want to talk about before we get into our quick National Basketball Association rundown is, of course, what Paolo Banchero did tonight with the Orlando Magic in that particular game. Now, as I've been saying all year, the Indiana Pacers defense is optional for this basketball team at this point. They are now 1-3. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't looked like himself yet, and they don't seem to be able to play any real defense of any significance. Paulo actually put up 37 points in the first half of the game, and you might be wondering, well, where was Franz Wagner? Where were the Wagner brothers in all of this? And Franz actually ended up only playing 11 minutes, had some sort of illness, so didn't play the rest of the game. No word yet on exactly what that illness was, but it did sort of clear the way for some ball-hogging moments by Paulo in this one. Running some footage of this game as well for you. 50 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists in the game. It was an absolute beast of a game for him. Now, a lot of people have talked about the Orlando Magic being one of those teams to actually really keep a close eye on in the Eastern Conference. And for good reason. Now, one of the reasons that a lot of people actually cite why you should be doing that is they picked up KCP. And I have to tell you, KCP has started to ski down the backside of Career Mountain. In 31 minutes of National Basketball Association play tonight, KCP put up a whopping 4 points. He had 1 assist and a goose egg on the rebound front. I think we need to slow our roll on what KCP is really going to actually mean to this Orlando Magic team. That doesn't mean I don't believe that this Orlando Magic team is going to continue to improve over the season and could be a team to actually keep a close eye on in the Eastern Conference. All right. If you are new to the NBA Rundown, we try to do shows if we can every single day. Sometimes we do them late at night like this, and we cover all the games that actually went down with a quick rundown. So I'm going to do that for you here in a second. But if you're new to the channel, please go and subscribe. And of course, like this video, listen. Every subscription certainly helps us out along the way. All right. To the National Basketball Association rundown we go, and we talked about the Orlando Magic. They ended up taking down the Indiana Pacers tonight in Orlando. 119-115 was the final. And as I mentioned, Paulo put up a 50-piece in that one. Oh my gosh, stop the presses. The Washington Wizards actually won a game. Kyle Kuzma, 25 points in that one. They beat the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta. How disappointed must the Atlanta Hawks fans be at this point? 121-119 was the final in that one. Peyton Pritchard, 28 points tonight in the Boston Celtics victory, 119-108. Look, when I look at a guy like Peyton Pritchard, I think Reed Sheppard. Peyton Pritchard absolutely needed some time to develop. You've just got to find a way to play. Give him some minutes, which of course the Celtics did. And when Peyton gets hot, you know what can happen in that game. The Celtics remain one of a couple undefeated teams in the Eastern Conference. Speaking of undefeated, the Cleveland Cavaliers with Darius Garland putting up 34 tonight. 110-104 at Madison Square Garden. Down go the Knicks. The Knicks, the newly revamped New York Knicks. We'll cover what's wrong with that team another day, but they're now 1-2 on the season. Speaking of Jimmy Butler, they took down the poor Detroit Pistons tonight. The Pistons are now 0-4. 106-98 was the final. Jimmy Buckets, 23, and Cade Cunningham has got to be looking for a trade out of Detroit at some point sooner than later. The Joker put up 40. It took 40 for the Joker to actually secure the first victory for the Denver Nuggets tonight in Toronto. Look, that Toronto Raptors team, as much fun as I've made of them, they play hard. They're a young team. They're going to get some wins this year, probably more than I thought they would. 127-125 was the final as the Nuggets ended up winning that game. Bulls versus the Grizzlies, a bit of a surprise here. 126-23. Zach LaVine put up 30 points. No word yet if anybody in the Chicago Bulls clubhouse actually congratulated him on that one. We talked about the Rockets beating the Spurs 106-101 tonight. Wemby, by the way, 20 rebounds, 4 blocks in the game, 14 points. And of course, Jalen Green was a star with 36 points in that one. The Dallas Mavericks 110-102 over the winless Utah Jazz tonight in Dallas. Kyrie had 23. Colin Sexton put up 23 for the lonely Utah Jazz. The Lakers lost their first game tonight. It was as if Father Time did catch up with LeBron James tonight. He looked a little tired out there. They didn't play Dalton Connect enough, in my opinion. I thought the rotation was one of the reasons the Lakers ended up losing. 109-104 was the final. By the way, the Lakers had a pretty significant lead in the second half of this one and let it slip away. KD had 30 and Devin Booker put up 33. And in the final game of the night, the Sacramento Kings got their first win of the year, and nothing like the Portland Trailblazers to make that happen for you at home, Sacramento. Light the beam. Sabonis had 16. Ayton actually showed up, and he had 20 in the Trailblazers loss. 111-98 was your final. All right, so that is our National Basketball Association rundown show for Monday, October 28th. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is amazing to me. I just have to say this one last time, that it took going to Toronto, having the Joker actually put up a 40-piece for this Denver Nuggets team, which is, a year and a half removed from winning an NBA title. How the Nuggets have fallen. Their depth is going to be an issue this year, I'm telling you. All right, that is it for today's National Basketball Association Rundown. Thanks so much for tuning in. For the NBA Rundown Show, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
This is Phoenix.